Yes, well, he will attempt to do this. The Resilience Task Force has been set up within the IUCN CM Commission. It's a voluntary organisation that brings together practitioners and academics who are interested in the application of resilience theory and the products of resilience theory in the field of practice. So I posed a question here. My proposition is that, of course, that we can make resilience operational, provided we have a clear idea of the characteristics of resilience in systems of humans and nature and the role that resilience plays in change processes. Operational resilience is about understanding complexity and uncertainty in change processes. It can provide a practical approach to addressing food security and nutrition issues in a climate change world. There are multiple definitions of resilience, most of them referring to bounce back. Some of them are now beginning to talk more about transformative change, which is good, it's an improvement, it's expanding the way the model can be used. Operational resilience is based on an assessment process that specifically answers questions about resilience of what system to what kinds of disturbance and resilience for whom. The social component, resilience for whom, is something which is evidently becoming increasingly important in the discussion with development practitioners. Resilience assessment itself is an evolving process that is being improved on the basis of lessons learned in application. Wicked problems. Resilience is the outcome of the self-organizing properties of complex adaptive systems. That means it is a dynamic variable that changes as a consequence of the interactions between the components of the system. Here, I don't know if there's an app. So this very simple model represents, in metaphorical terms, the different components of a system, constantly interacting. And the shocks, which would come in from the side here, the kinds of shocks related to disease outbreaks and climate change and so on. The shocks that the system will be subject to. So this dynamic nature and the interactions between them makes resilience something that's very difficult to predict or to measure or to monitor. And it makes life difficult for people who want to plan projects to build resilience. Resilience, self-organization or emergence means that resilience-enhancing projects are dealing with the unknown unknowns, or what social planners refer to as wicked problems for which there are no best practice solutions. Resilience cannot be engineered by addressing root causes because there are multiple causes that operate through complex interactions and feedback. A rigidity trap. It's a pathology that arises when a system becomes over-resilient and is unable to change when a change is needed. Rigidity comes from the accumulation of resources and power as a consequence of the quest for competitive efficiency and advantage. Rigidity explains the inability to collaborate when collaboration is needed. It explains silos and interdisciplinary rivalry. Lack of global agreement on how to deal with climate change is an example of rigidity. Poverty trap is another systemic pathology, and it defines a system that is broken. The system lacks the potential for change, that's the social and ecological capital, and the network connections between the different parts of the system that are necessary for the system to reorganize, either in its original state or on some new transformational trajectory. Poverty in one part of a system is symptomatic of rigidity in another, and vice versa. These two things are very closely interconnected. Leveling the playing field by addressing issues associated with equitable access to power and resource will unlock the rigidity trap and the poverty trap. The difficulty is that those in power can be most reluctant to give up the power, which is why we have things like revolutions. Smart decision makers can implement policies that deliberately level the playing field. Otherwise, the playing field will eventually self-level, possibly with catastrophic consequences for all concerned. So it really is a matter of choice for the decision makers, once they understand the dynamics of these systems. Silver bullets. There are no silver bullets or best practices. Some practices may be better than others, but this will vary with social and ecological context, which themselves are constantly changing through time. A context-specific definition of operational resilience can provide a model of system change focused on the stabilizing elements, these big things up here, the large and slow things that give systems their stability over long periods of time. So those are the things we need to really focus on. So these are things like soils, water flows and forests, and the laws and the policies that regulate the social system. The model is based on an assessment of the risks associated with undesirable change, knowing the places you really don't want to go to if you want to maintain human livelihoods. And it will point to the need for change in laws and policies and resource use practices that might be driving the system towards those undesirable changes. A general recommendation of complexity science is that policies should protect and support the conditions of emergence from the bottom up. This diagram shows very clearly it's very much a bottom-up process of emergence that changes the characteristics of the whole system. The operational resilience model has to be tested with adaptive management to provide the evidence of policy change, and for social learning so that the people who are in the system can understand the consequences, both the good ones and the bad ones, that arise as a result of their interactions with nature. I've got to go? One, yeah. If it is to support the emergence of resilience, the operational model must change as understanding changes, as the interactions between the system components change and the system changes in response to shocks. So it's a very dynamic thing that we have to manage. Thank you.